introduce myself a little bit, and maybe it's not just about my person, but it's also connected with the work I want to present to you. First, I didn't think to become a psychologist. I was studying political science and sociology, a little bit psychology, but that was not really important. And I worked in the field of sociological political research for 12 years. And when I was in my 30s, in the middle of my 30s, I suddenly realized this is not what I want to do. I am not interested in politics anymore. So this became, of course, I was 35 about, and just had a family. My two children were born. I had two very small children, and then I came to the conclusion I cannot do my work anymore unless I risk to become sick, to become ill, and I really was considering. Of course, I was thinking a lot about this, and and my main thought was, half of our life we are sleeping in bed. We are laying in bed and sleeping, and the rest of our life, when we are awake, I don't want to spend with a work that is not that doesn't satisfy me. But at this moment, at this time, I was about to make the qualification to become an ordinary professor in the university, and I knew I cannot follow this anymore. Of course, this was a crisis, and it was also a health crisis that was combined both with each other. And I didn't know what to do, because when you do research in political science, you have no qualification for any normal work. Yeah. And then in this time, I started to visit some workshops for self-exploring, just to know or to find out more. One point, what is wrong with my health, or what is wrong in my living. So my health condition, because all my symptoms were psychosomatical. I was not really ill, but I had a lot of psychosomatical symptoms, and I wanted to find out more about this, and at the same time I wanted really to get connected with a part of me, or with the question what to do and how to spend what work to do. I had a lot of talents, but in the beginning I didn't know. So, and then to my total surprise, in these workshops, which I just wanted visited to find out something about myself, in these workshops, suddenly I saw I have the ability to deal with emotions. I was at this time I was thinking of myself as a pure intellectual person, and emotions were very dangerous to me. And then I saw that when I was in a group group and people went into heavy emotional states, I found out I can be very quiet and very centered in this moment when they are in emotional states. And then I remembered that even in my young years as a teenager, there was a moment when a friend of mine, he had a terrible accident with a bicycle, but he was almost dying. I was totally clear and I knew what to do, and I advised the people around me who were grown-up adults, I advised them what to do. And I remember that, I had completely forgotten, and I remembered, okay, when the house is burning, I know, I get quiet and I know what to do. And then I trusted that, and then the idea came up, maybe I have to become a therapist. And in the beginning that was threatening for me, but more and more I trusted into this, and I followed this. Just trusting that this, what I felt, is right for me. But on the outside, I had no proof for this. When I started then, I started even with, I still was at the university. I had already quit my job, but I had for half a year, or more than half a year, my contract was still running, so I fulfilled my contract, and at this time I started to have small workshops, small groups with students. And I found out, yes, that's what I really want to do, and also that's what I'm able to do. But I had no knowledge, I had no training, and I was an absolute beginner. But I started, just trusting this. So my whole work, I am everything I have developed and I have learned from my own experience. I am not trained in psychology or in therapy in any way. It's just I'm an autodidact. Yeah? And so, and in the beginning I had some successes with some cases, but only a few people come. Yeah? And so I started, I left the university, I started, okay, we have, as you have in Holland, we had at this time a quite good social welfare system, so I used that to survive with my family, and also my wife, she worked, and I did a little bit in the household, and like this. Like this, I did some jobs. For half a year, I was selling cheap jewelries. I had a hand case, and I traveled to shops, offer them jewelries made in Thailand. Many things, but I had this vision. I have to follow this. So it took 10 years, and in these 10 years there was no indication that I ever could make my living out of it from this. Not to talk about becoming successful. And finally, I came across Family Constellation, and just in the moment there was a some friends of mine, they were sitting there and drinking tea, and somebody mentioned this, used this word, family constellation. And I was saying, what's this? And they told me a little bit, and I went in the library and I bought the book Orders of Love, Ordnungen der Liebe. I was reading 30, 50 pages, and I knew that's my work. That's what I have been waiting for 10 years. So, and this is how I started with this. I became very quickly very successful, and after 10 years, I was a international known family constellator, and then I had some disagreement, some very profound disagreement with the founder of Family Constellation, with Bert Hellinger, who was at that time a close friend of mine. But we had when he changed his work in 2005, around this, and he changed his work totally. I felt I cannot follow this anymore. So and then I stepped back a little bit, and I could see that there are few things in family constellation which also before I was not totally in tune with it, but I didn't care about that. So, and then I had a closer look, and I said, this is not. There's something missing, and then on a car ride to the south of Germany, on the highway, I heard a song from the Beatles, and then suddenly it plopped into my mind. 1960s. This was a cultural change in Europe, which everything has been turned upside down. There is something that was not just, this music was just an expression of it. There was something going on. To say it today, I would say in the 1960s, modernity went into ordinary life, came into ordinary life. The modernity came into the modern thinking, the modern culture, came into the cultural scene of the painters, musicians, writers. This was about 1900, between 1900 and the First World War. That was when in culture, in painting, everything changed. Yeah. Before when somebody painted a person, he painted a person. Yeah. But in 1910, when somebody painted a person, he meant this. This is a person. So the abstract and all this in culture, this changed. But this was only a small part of society. This was the cultural elite in 1900, 1910. There is a very interesting book. The name is, I think it may be also in Dutch, 1913 is just the title of the book, and the author he describes the feeling of the avant-garde in arts in this year, and what happened only in 1 year before the First World War started, and this gives a very, very good expression of the time. But for the ordinary people, they still lived in the old society, and we needed to have two wars in order to get the structures of the old society and the thinking of the traditional society to get this broken. And this happened after the wars and during the wars, because in the wars it was destroyed. Yeah? And after it was built up and then it was destroyed again. And in the 60s, the modern thinking, the real breakup with all traditions, which is not yet finished. Yeah? Today, what today is called the woke people and the thinking of the taking away of old structures and in Holland the banning of the Zwarte Piet, for example, things like this. It's still going on, yeah. But this started in the 1960s. A totally new way of thinking and a totally new way of feeling and of being in the world. So this came to me when I was 160 kilometers and driving in my car on the Autobahn near Nuremberg, and suddenly I said, wow. So I had to stop. I went to a parking, had to stop, and I made some notes. And finally, out of these notes, this book developed. And within 3 weeks, I had the full structure of this book. And that was in 2007, 2008. And when I had written this book, or when I was writing it, when I had written this book, I knew Family Constellation is past. I was on the peak, very successful, and I knew, as 20 years before with my work in the university, I knew Family Constellation is past. But I didn't know, and I didn't know what to do else. I was so involved with this, and I had no idea I can change it. I couldn't change it. So and then I had a workshop, with my it was a module of our training in Family Constellation at this time. And during this training, I tried to explain the model, the structure of this model of, I must say, I had, what I found out, what I describe in this book is a model of 7 stages of, I will explain it later, of the development of human consciousness. And I tried to explain this to my students. And I felt nobody's understanding what I'm trying to convey to them. Yeah? And then I said, okay, I show you how it works. And then I did something like a constellation with myself. And when I did this, I will explain later how it works. When I did this, suddenly I knew this is my new work. So now I come to, and since that, and then I started with the life integration process, or in short, LIP. And now it is the same like before. I just followed my inner vision. I had no idea at all about building up some business or things like this. I just followed what I felt, and now we have institutes in 5 or 6 countries, and works very well. Even that the fact that Corona stopped us for half a year last year, we couldn't do any workshop. It didn't. We could survive with it quite good. So now I come to this, what is life integration process, and to this model. I told you so widely about my biography because, of course, it is closely connected to this. Usually, people sitting in a circle when I talk, and I can go in the middle and use this. Here I have to improvise. Make some improvisation to show you this. What I found out, or what came to me in this situation in my car, was that I suddenly had the insight that life is developing in stages, and to me it came like it is 7 stages which we go through in our life. Each stage is different. In each stage we have to leave, when we enter a new stage, we have to leave the old stage of life. And this is so in our biological life, and the same is true, and that was the most important point. This is also true with our mental and our spiritual being. It is not only on the physical level, but also on the spiritual level. We also go through stages of in which our consciousness develops, and these stages also mentally and emotionally and spiritually, we have to leave the old stage to enter a new one. So when I explain it, I always start with the biological life, because this is easy to see. The mental and the spiritual part is not visible. Only the physical part of our life is physical. You cannot see spirit. Spirit is something invisible. Yeah. Some people think they see ghosts, but you cannot see spirit. Spirit has no form. It gets a form in a certain person. It becomes in a certain person, it gets a form, but spirit itself is not visible. So I always refer, in the beginning when I explain it, I refer to the physical part. So physically it's very simple. The first stage of our life, I make here a small circle, and this is really a circle. The first stage of our life is 9 months in mother's womb. This is clear. And the second stage of our life, I first explain mention the stages, and then I explain it. The second stage in our life is childhood, beginning with our birth, and childhood ends. When I look at our society right now in the Corona crisis, I don't see childhood ends. Yeah, I see children. I see some children playing adults. They playing parent-children game. Yeah, the politicians and the media, they are the parents, and they tell the children what is right and what is wrong. And the children, and most of the children, as in life, they obey, and some children rebel. And this is what we see in society now as a children's game. It is when children play family. It's exactly like this, yeah. And some I am the father, and others are the children. So this is on the mental level, yeah. So I come back to this later. So childhood ends, and it ends when we enter into puberty. That is the end of the childhood. And it ends from one moment to the next one. Same at birth. The time in the mother's womb ends rapidly. And it is the same is with the childhood. With the first blood or the first ejaculation, childhood is gone. Mentally, we still hang on. We need some time to digest, yeah. But physically, this is a point when it ends, and then we come into youth or adolescence. This is the third stage. So, and even it is unbelievable today, even youth or adolescence ends sometimes. In our society, youth never ends. Yeah? Of course, you see me, I have a little bit grey hair and not so much anymore, but I'm still young, of course. You know? I'm not an old man now, I'm still young. I look a little bit old, but I'm still young. That has to be today. Yeah? But biologically and in normal life, youth ends, and it ends, traditionally, youth ends in the moment you enter into the adult life, and it is traditionally when a man marries a woman, or a woman marries a man, when you have a new family, or when you enter into a profession. And then you are confronted with the real facts of life. So, the search for what to do is over. Now you have to function as a father or a mother. I talk about the traditional society in this moment. Yeah. This morning, I was on the breakfast. Yesterday evening, I was talking with my wife about my grandma, and my wife, she said, yeah, she was very kind of depressive or what, and I told her, you know, when my grandmother, when she was 29, she had given birth to 8 children. Two died in the first half year, 6 survived, and when she was 29, she had given birth to 8 children, and she had to raise up 6 children. So of course she was a little somehow like burdened. Yeah? But this was how people lived until not very long ago. I still remember. Yeah? And there was no idea for people who were 30 who want to have party. There was absolutely no idea about this. Maybe for a very, very tiny few people of the upper class. Yeah? So this is adulthood, yeah, and my grandfather had to work in order to get these 6 children fed, and that was all. That was life. So Number 5 is different for women and men. Everything is different, but in number 5 the difference is very clearly women come into menopause. And this means they cannot give birth anymore. And that means the productive, physically, biologically, the biologically productive part of life is over. Now we get old. And after menopause, usually earlier, people were old. In men is different. They can be reproductive until they are 80 or 90, but they lose their physical power. Yeah, same. Number 6 is then really old age, when we cannot take care of for ourselves. Physically, we are not able to feed ourselves. We need others to support us. In modern time, this is retirement. And then the number 7, we die. So this is the biological course of life. What I found, and what was my kind of revelation in this 15 years ago, was that in the mental and in the spiritual life, it is the same. We also go through these stages. There's only one difference. The difference is, with my body, I cannot escape. I am here now, and I cannot be somewhere else with my body. But in my thought, I can be at home. I can be in America, while my body is sitting here. I can be everywhere. I can, in my thought, I can move through time and space. I can be yesterday, I can be in the future, I can be in the past. This is a difference. And this makes it clear when I said before, we are living in a childish society. In our spiritual development, we have not moved out of, or most people have not moved out of childhood. Physically, this is impossible. But spiritually, we can hang in our whole life. We can hang in childhood, or we can hang in youth. So I explained, in short, what it means on the level of, on our consciousness level. Biologically, in the first stage, the child lives in symbiosis with the mother, a kind of unity, not real unity. They are already two, but they do not know yet. And they are not exactly two, because the child is fed by the mother. And the mother's organs, they do that what the children's organs who are not yet developed cannot do for the child. Because, for example, the lungs of the child are not ready to breathe, so the mother is breathing for the child. So that means physically we are living in a symbiosis with the mother. And the same is true for our mental part. we are also living in a symbiosis with the mother. And that is psychologically most important. Before our birth, we make a lot of deep inner experiences. When the mother is in fear, the child will take up this fear with his body. It goes directly in the body of the child, the same as the mother's oxygen goes into the body of the child. Also the mother's emotions, at least the very strong emotions of the mother, go directly in the child. In my book I tell you a short story. Which was happening not long ago. I have some of our students. He comes to us for 4 or 5 years now. He was in our last summer academy, and I had a work with him, and the issue in his work was this came out by the work. He didn't remember, but he knew that is true. His mother had tried to abort him, and this man was very, very skilled. He was good looking, 45 years, very skilled. He's a coach, and he was quite successful for some time. But with the pandemic, now his business went down, and he couldn't hardly know how to make his living from his work. And to make it short, the real issue was that he couldn't believe other people could welcome him. Other people would accept him, would welcome him, would say, good, you are there. And it was like this, he couldn't, he was always a little bit like, hold back. Yeah? And now, I had two sessions with him. He lives in Vienna, in Austria, and he called me and he said, something unbelievable is happening. After this work I did with you in the summer, for the first time I could see that this is my mental condition. Nobody wants me. And now when I'm on the point that I'm economically, I'm almost dying, as I was in my mother's womb. Suddenly I get an offer from the biggest company in Austria for, what is this, Vermögensverwaltung.
Yeah, vermogensbeheer.
Yeah. And it's a really on a high position, and I get a lot of money. They offer me a lot of money, and he said I am not sure whether I should really go, but I asked, and I think they want me. I cannot believe. Yeah. So I told him, you have to take this dirty money. And he got the job. What I want to say with this, there are a lot of experiences we make in the mother's womb which have a deep influence into our way how we are in the world. And we have no idea where this comes from. Because the experiences in mother's womb, they go into our body, they go into our cells, they not go into our cognitive mind. When we work with the cognitive mind, we never can reach this. Or a woman in Spain, she was in trouble with her sexuality. She was a very attractive woman, young woman, but she was really in trouble with her sexuality. And finally we found out with this work, we found out, yeah, her mother was pregnant when the mother was 16 years old. That was in the early 1970s or 1960s in Spain, under Franco, very conservative in a village, and of course the mother was a whore in the eyes of the people. And so the child had to pick up this idea, sexuality, I have to stay away from this. This is dangerous. I could feel that she was really a very attractive and sexual woman, but she had a fear of it, and this came out of this experience. So, this is the first stage of our consciousness. That is symbiotic consciousness. And this symbiotic consciousness, we are our consciousness is not yet our consciousness, it is in symbiosis with the consciousness of our mother, with the condition of our mother. And it has also a beautiful part, because in relationships, we want unity forever. We don't want distance. We want the deepest unity. And of course, this is not possible. Also, our spiritual dreams of unity are dreams from mother's womb. So, this is the first part. That is symbiosis. And many people, or at least with a part of our emotions, often we are stuck in this symbiosis. We have a dream of Schlaraffenland. What is this in Dutch?
Lekkerland.
We have a dream of Schlaraffenland, yeah? Where the doves come and they are already ready-made, yeah? And look at all-inclusive holiday offers. They use that dream. You lay on the beach, you don't move the whole day, yeah? And the wine comes by itself, champagne or whatever, you don't have to pay for it, you don't even have to say, waiter, I want more, it comes by itself. That is our... this is how we... this is that is how it is used. So, the symbiotic consciousness, the symbiosis, the real symbiosis with the mother ends with our birth. Our birth is a separation. And with the separation, the symbiosis with our mother ends. And this is the beginning of our life as our own being. Before, when the mother dies, the child also has to die. After birth, the mother can die, the child can survive. So we are independent now. We are not really independent, but physically, we are on our own. So we are two. That is where duality starts. And only then the child starts to recognize, by and by, to recognize himself as a person on his own, and the symbiosis with the mother slowly vanishes. Instead of symbiosis, now we go into a group consciousness. The symbiotic consciousness is replaced by a group consciousness. For the child, it is important that he belongs to his family. That is the most important thing for the child, belonging. Yeah? And I give you an example again. In the moment, politically, this is used or misused. Yeah? Everybody wants to belong to the society, or that this child's wish to belong to his family, because the child knows without my parents and without my family I cannot survive. And for the child this is absolutely true. He needs his parents to take care for his survival. And so for a child, it is always important that he belongs to a group, that he belongs to his family, and that he has a feeling, I am accepted in this group, and I am allowed to belong to this group. And this is, in our whole life, belonging somewhere, to have a place where we can belong, and to have people where we belong. This is a deep desire which we all have in our whole life. In the moment we see that how it can be misused, because the people who don't want to be vaccinated, they are told you are not belonging anymore to the society, and this is a very, very deep separation that happens. Yeah? And when I see what happened in Rotterdam, no matter how crazy these people, some people of these people are, but when I see what happened, behind this is the desperation. I am excluded. I don't belong anymore. I'm excluded. And for those who are carrying out this policy, they don't know that they make a separation in society that is very, very dangerous. Yeah? So this is the deepest desire of a child. And for those of you who are familiar with family constellation in the first place works with belonging. And this was also my separation with family constellation on a certain point, not on every point. The belonging to the family ends when we go into youth. When we go into youth, we have to leave our family. This is what youth brings with us. Yeah? I often make I explain this. Can you just come and do? Stell dich mal dahin. I explain this when these are my parents. Yeah, the child looks at the parents like this. Yeah, and this is a situation, family constellation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but when I'm 15 or 16, I see a little girl there, and she is very attractive, and I don't care about my mother. Yeah, for the child, this is not important. For the child, the mother is important. But when we go into youth, we have to leave. Thank you. We have to leave our parents. We have to leave our family. And of course, this is a movement of life. Because life can only go on, there can only be new children. I cannot make children with my mother. Today everything is possible, yeah? Today everything is possible, but it's weird. Yeah? Naturally, it's not possible. So I have to, in order that is a movement of life itself. I have to move out of my family. But I don't know, and this is what youth means. Youth means I have to say, now I go my own way. I don't know what my own way is. I only know one thing. My own way is not the way of my parents. So I have to move away from them. And in the society this is on a larger level. This is what happened in the age of Enlightenment, 17th, 18th century, when Immanuel Kant said, you have to dare to use your own mind. Yeah. Well, and then the next stage comes, and now it's become serious. The next stage is life is not an endless search, but where finally I can look for the girls, but finally maybe I stick on one, and then I am in a family, and then I have to do my duty or something. I am confronted with the borders of life, and also this stage. Also this stage ends the fifth. And the consciousness on the level. This is symbiotic consciousness on number one. On number two, it is group consciousness, and group consciousness we today have still in the. This is my football club. I belong to Ajax, yeah, and I belong to this. This is group consciousness, yeah. Or group consciousness. We are German and you are Dutch. Yeah? This is national groups. Many groups we still have. We still have this group consciousness. The question is not, of course I am German, and of course you are Dutch. The question is not to say what today we are saying, no, there are no Germans or Dutch, there are only Europeans. But this is bullshit. There is a difference. The question is whether I think to be German is better to be Dutch than to be Dutch, or you think, of course you think this. Luckily I'm not German, I'm Dutch. Yeah? And then it becomes strange. Yeah? But that we belong to the group, as I belong to the family I am raised up, that we cannot change. Yeah. So this is a group consciousness, and on the third stage in youth we develop the ego consciousness. Not what my parents tell me is my guideline. I find my way alone. I say what's true or not. This is ego consciousness, and it is necessary. Without ego, I cannot move away from the family. I have to think about you, yeah? Joanna, she's from Berlin, yeah? I know her family and her grandmother, and very good, but she had, I'm allowed to say this? And she had to move to Amsterdam. She had to move to Amsterdam to find her own way in life, because the family, they are all nice people, I know them, yeah? But they wanted to hold her, yeah, and to guide her and tell her what's right and what's wrong, and she had to make this move into another country in order to say, now I have to go my own way, yeah? And this is a very good, I just remember an example, yeah? Ego is not something wrong. We need this, but as everything, it becomes wrong when there is an old saying. I think it's from Paracelsus, the dosis is the poison. Yeah? There is no poison as such, only the doses is the poison. Yeah? So it becomes on a certain point, it turns over, and then it's only just ego, just me, nothing else. Yeah? And then it becomes, it turns around. So, and a part of the ego consciousness is, I can do what I want. 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, he now shows me something I talk about now. Yeah, the youth consciousness has no limits. I can do what I want. Yeah, and I tell you, I know this is very controversial, and in Holland even more than in Germany. If I want to be a woman, I can be a woman. This is the newest expression of I want. I can be what I want. There is nothing that limits me. And there is some misunderstanding about borders. It is the misunderstanding when I was a child. The parents have told me what is right and what is wrong, and what I can do and what I not can do. And this I have to leave behind. And in this way I can be free. I want to be free from these borders, from these limits the parents or the traditional thinking in society gives me. But when I move into adulthood, then I meet the borders that life gives me. For example, my body now is quite old already. And I cannot do what I could do 20 years ago. And he told me only 5 minutes. That's the limit. Yeah. So, and you can find this everywhere. Yeah. Nature gives us, when we go into life, into real life, then we will experience that nature limits us. And we have to, we can only find our freedom within those limits. Freedom is not something, I can do what I want. This freedom never existed. We all will die. We all will die. We all get old. This course of life is without any choice. Without any choice. We cannot choose to go out of the mother earlier. We cannot choose to go back into the mother when it was beautiful there. We cannot go back in childhood, we cannot go back in youth. Only with our thinking we can think, or we can behave as if. But you all know, old people who behave like young people is a little bit weird. Yeah? And we have the choice, we have no choice. We have to follow the course of life. Physically, it's very clear. And when we want to be in tune with ourselves, really deep down in tune with ourselves, then we have to follow this also mentally. For example, we have to agree that we are sterblich.
Sterfelijk. Sterfelijk. We all die.
What?
Mortal.
We are mortal. Yeah? We have to agree that we are mortal. Yeah? And for example, in this corona pandemic, I see that this is not accepted. Even when people are 90 or 100 years old, they should not die. That was very clear last year. Yeah? Now there's another point, there's another panic. Yeah? They should not die. We must vaccinate them in order then they live forever. That was a fantasy. Yeah? And we are no more in tune with the fact that being human means being mortal. For example, so the work that we are practically doing with the lip is to help people to get in tune with the life at the stage where they just are. And with the conditions of life that from inside want to come into life, want to develop. And that is my last point. There is one thing very important. When we look at this circle of life, we can see that this is nothing that we can do, that we can make. It is happening to us. We don't make our birth, we don't make our puberty, we don't make our growing, we don't make our getting old. That's nothing we can do. It is happening to us. And it is absolutely choiceless. There is no freedom at all. Or there is only one freedom. And this is the real freedom. The real freedom is to agree with this. To agree with your old age. Or to agree with your childhood. And be really a child, as long as you are a child. To agree with your being old and to agree with being mortal and dying. This is the only freedom we have. And this is nothing, not a point of doing. This all happens to us. We cannot do anything. So what we try to teach in our work is to learn undoing. To give up doing and to let life happen. To let it happen from its inner core. And then life can become beautiful. Because then everybody will develop as the person he really is from inside. As every flower is different. As every tree, each tree, everything in nature. The trees are not all the same. They don't compare with other trees. As every animal is different. And then we can be unique persons. And as we are, without any morality, just develop as that what we are. And this is what we try to convey and to encourage and to see in our lip work. We are not going to change the people. We are not going to make a better person out of you. We just tell you, we want you to be the person that you are from the beginning. Because from the very beginning, I have been this person standing here, has been the same person when I was born or when I was in the mother's womb. It has been the same person, just in a different stage of life. The child I have been and the old man I am, it's the same person. But it is the same flow of life, but just in a different stage of life. And when I see this, age is not a problem.